Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara. Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurave Sarvalokanam Bhijaje Bhavaroginam Nidhaye Sarvavidhyanam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvighnam Gurame Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Gajananam Bhutaganadisevidam Kavittayam Bhuvalasara Bhakshitam Umasudam Shokavinashakaranam Namami Vigneshwara Pankajam Shuklam Bharadaram Vishnam Shashivardam Jadarbhajam Prasannavathanam Dhyaye Sarvavighnopashantaye Vyasam Vasishtanaptaram Shakte Pautramakalmajam Parasharatmajam Vande Sukadatam Taponidhim Vyasaya Vishnurupaya Vyasarupaya Vishnave Namo Vai Brahmanidhaye Vasisthaya Namo Namaha. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Jaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Jaiva Tato Jayamudhirayet. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste everyone. Last week we were looking at story of somebody. Anyone remember which story we were looking at? Anybody want to just give a recap of what we did last week? If nobody raises hand, I'm going to ask you to unmute now.
It was Ganga and Bhima, yeah, and the seven sons he got.
Ganga and
throw them into the river Ganga.
8 of the Vasus, they stole Nandini, so one of them had to take birth. All of them had to take birth.
Why?
Because they all helped one of the Vasus to steal Nandini. But the seven, since they are not responsible mainly, he just helped. They could be relieved. That means they were just thrown into the river. The 8th one survived, but he had 1/8 of every single one's power. Other one.
Very good, Raghav. Yep. So we learned about Mahabhisha, right? Who was a king, and when he was with Brahma and others, right? He was cursed. He was asked by Brahma to take birth on earth because he stared at Ganga. And then Ganga was also about to take birth on earth. And then on her way to earth, Ganga came across Vasus, 8 Vasus, and those Vasus were also heading towards earth. The reason was, as Raghav said, they were cursed by Vasishta. They stole Vasishta's cow, Nandini, whose milk was so good that if anyone drinks, they used to stay young for 10,000 years, right? So Vasu named Dew, his wife, wanted to give that cow as a gift to her friend on earth. So she asked her husband Dew to steal it, and other Vasus helped him, but Dew stole the cow. Vasishta, when he came to know about this, cursed all of them to take birth on earth and said that the one who actually stole it, Dew, have to live his full life. Others can be limited their life to less than a year. Okay, and also he says that Dew will never get married on earth. And the lady also, he curses her that she will not be married. Okay, so they were born, and then Mahabhisha gets birth as Shantanu, son of Pratipa. And Pratipa promises Ganga that his son will marry her And Shantanu, when he comes to age, he meets Ganga, and then they married on condition that he will not ask anything what Ganga does, and he will not stop her doing anything. Like that, they had 7 children, all of them were dropped in the river. All the 7 Vasus returned to heaven. The 8th one, when she was about to drop, Shantanu stops her, saying, "What type of mother you are? You are killing your own children." Then Ganga explains all the details. These are the Vasus. 7 of them returned to heaven. 8th one was supposed to stay longer. And that's how you also waited till this time. And now you also stopped me. Okay. So with that, the 8th one survives. And Ganga says, "I'm going to take him with me now. I'm going to leave." And then Ganga leaves. That's what I said last week. Anyone remember now? Yes. Okay, so now let's look at next story. Okay, what happens? So we have Ganga taking her son. What's her son's name? Yeah,
Bhishma.
not Bhishma yet. I haven't told you anything about Bhishma.
Dew.
Dew is the Vasu who got cursed. Yeah, Raghav.
Devadrat.
Yeah, Devavrat or Gangadatta. Right? He was called Devavrat. Okay, Devavrata. So Ganga takes Devavrata with her, and then Shantanu returns to his kingdom. So now what happens to Shantanu? That's the story. Okay, so let's look at it. So Shantanu, Mahabharata explains, ruled his kingdom for 36 years. Okay, like that. So how did he rule? Mahabharata beautifully explains his kingdom. What type of king he was? He was adored, he was worshipped, he was respected by gods and all the sages. Okay, he was worshipped, and he was known for his wisdom, virtues, truthfulness of speech. He had, sorry, can you please go on mute, Anjay? Okay, so he was known for his qualities of self-control, liberality, forgiveness, intelligence, modesty, patience, and superior energy. Okay, and Shantanu was such a great being that he did accomplished everything. Okay, both related to dharma and artha. What does dharma and artha means? Yes, Sadi.
I think means calm.
Yeah, so dharma is his kind of duties, artha is wealth. Okay, so there are 4 things we say: dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Okay, so dharma is doing our duties, artha is accumulation of wealth, kama is our desires and wishes, and moksha is the liberation. Okay, salvation. So that's what it is. So dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So he was, with all these characters, he accomplished all his duties and accumulated the wealth. Again, accumulation of wealth is not to show off, it is to do all the sacrifices and your duties properly. Okay, and he was also protected all the human beings. Okay, he protected everybody, and so he was such a good king. There was nobody in his kingdom worried about anything. And Mahabharata also described of Shantanu how good he was. He was marked with lines on his in his throat. Okay, his 3 lines of conch shell, like conch shell. He had marks. Okay, and he had on his neck. Okay, that means he was such a strong person. He has like, these days we call 6-pack in abs, right? So those days they used to say they had marks on their throat. Okay, which means they had a lot of strength. Okay, he had such a strength. His shoulders were broad, and he looked like a furious elephant. Okay, he had such a strength. Okay, he had so much strength, and he had all the auspicious marks of a king. Okay, and he was such a great king of achievements that he always considered virtue over pleasure and profit. Okay, kama and wealth over that. He always considered his duties as the important thing. And because of he was such a great king, there was no other king like him. Okay, there was no other king on the earth like him. And all the people, all the kings and everyone called him, he is the king of the king. So Chakravarti. So he was called Chakravarti. He was king of kings. Okay, emperor. He was the king of kings and he ruled the entire earth. And how was the earth during his time? His time, there were no fears, no troubles to people of any kind. People slept happily. They woke up happily in the morning with happy dreams. And it used to say that Mahabharata says that king, his achievements were like Indra himself. Okay. And all the kings under his supervision, ruling different parts of the country and different parts of his kingdom, they were also, because of him, they were virtuous. They were doing sacrifices. They were doing religious acts. Okay. And all the religious merit, again, it is important. The king, the way he accumulates merit is through his people. Okay. If people, his subjects are doing merit, the religious acts, their merit reaches the king. Okay. So that's how the good ruler benefits. And the Kshatriyas at that time, in those days, Shantanu's ruling, they served the Brahmanas. Okay, whatever Brahmanas required, they protected the Brahmanas, they served the Brahmanas. And the Vaishyas, they waited upon the Kshatriyas. And then the Shudras, they were worshipping the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, and they waited upon the Vaishyas. Okay. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, 4 orders. Okay. Kshatriya, Brahmana is the top order. Okay. Kshatriya, then Vaishya, Shudra. So like that, all the 4 orders were doing their duties. So at this time, Earth again, he was such a king that he was truthful and he ruled like Indra himself. Okay. From his combination of, he was very liberal, he was generous in his gifts, donating gifts, and his penance, his virtues, whatever he was doing, he was such a good king. And he did not have any anger. He did not hate anybody. And also, he was looking handsome. I told you, he had a broad shoulders, strong body, built body. He looked handsome. Okay, like Chandra himself. Mahabharata says he looked like Chandra, such a beautiful person. And his energy was like sun. He was such a energetic person. And he had strength like Vayu, okay, the wind god. And when he was angry, he was like Yama himself. Okay, Yama is the god of death. Okay, when he was angry, he was like that. And he had patience like earth. Okay, these are the comparisons Mahabharata makes. Earth is considered as the most patient for his patience, because earth, whatever you do, it takes it doesn't harm us. Okay, that's why. And Mahabharata says that there are no deers or animals or anything were needlessly killed in his kingdom. Okay, all of them were protected. All the creatures lived happily, not just humans. All the creatures were protected with equal protection to all of them. And all the people, all the eligible people, whoever can do, they did the sacrifices for deities and the rishis and pitrus. All the sacrifices, whatever that's supposed to happen, happened on timely manner and correct manner. All the creatures, life was good at that time. So like this, King Shantanu ruled his kingdom. Okay, everyone's speech at that time became truth, because everybody used to speak truth, and they were directed towards gift, charity, and doing their duties properly. Like this, he ruled 36 years, it says. Okay, when he ruled like that, parallelly, what's happening was his son Devavrata, he was also like Shantanu, he was growing. Okay, he was growing with a great good habits and behavior, and he was learning. Okay, he was learning in the branches, all the branches of Vedas and everything. and spiritual knowledge. And he also had energy, extraordinary energy, and became a mighty warrior. Okay, he was a very strong, skilled warrior. Okay, that's what happened to Devavrata. So like this, around 36 years passed. Okay, one day Shantanu was in the woods, okay, in the forest. He was going around in the forest, and he was around near Ganga river, and suddenly he notices something strange happening. Okay, he looks at the river, and suddenly the water is drying out on the river. Okay, so water is slowly, gradually reducing, and then he goes upstream, saying, what's happening here? Why the water is reducing? He goes upstream and upstream, and finally he comes across a boy. Okay, the boy looked like he was such a good character, and look on his face, he looked like Indra himself, and with his weapons he was stopping the river. Okay, he put arrows into the river and made a dam and stopped the water flow, Ganga river, completely. Okay, so when he looks at him, Shantanu was looking at him, and then he was very much surprised, and he saw only a few moments, and then suddenly Shantanu was thinking, who is this guy, who is this boy? And he did not recognize him, because he saw Devavrat when he was very little boy, right? He did not recognize him, but Devavrata noticed that it is his father, but he did not want to come across in front of him directly, so he goes away into hiding. Okay, and then Shantanu, thinking about this boy, he thinks about his own son whom Ganga took. Okay, and then he says, hey Ganga, show me my child. It's been so long, I'm missing him. Show me my child. At that time, Ganga comes beautifully dressed with all the ornaments and white clothes. She comes in front of him. Shantanu did not recognize her, because she is now coming in her celestial form. Okay, then she explains that I am Ganga, and the boy you saw is your son. He is your son, Devavrata. He is the 8th Vasu. He is here, and this child is very much skilled in all the weapons. He is very strong. He has all the knowledge, and she explains that he has a superior knowledge, and he studied all the Vedas and its branches, that is Upanishads and everything, through Vasishta. Okay, he studied them all that through Vasishta, and then he studied all the Vedas and weaponry. Okay, he studied everything, and then he went to Sukracharya. Okay, he went to Sukracharya, and whatever Sukracharya knowledge he had, everything this boy has learned from him. And then he went to Brahaspati. Who is Brahaspati? And Sukracharya. Anyone? Is everyone's mic working?
I think Sukracharya is the guru.
Of
He was the guru Indra.
yes, that is okay. Indra and Devas. Okay, he is the Devas guru. Sukracharya is Asuras guru, Danavas, Daityas guru. We heard about Sukracharya, Devayani story. Remember Yayati, right? Okay, so here Devavrata learned from Sukracharya. He learned from Vasishta. He went to Brahaspati. Okay, he went to Brahaspati, and then he learned again all the knowledge from Brahaspati, and then finally he went to Parashurama. Okay, Parashurama. He went to Parashurama and learned all the weaponry. Okay, all the celestial weapons, all the way how to use them, everything he learned from Parashurama. And at that time, Ganga says, this son is not only knowledge, he learned knowledge through Brahaspati, Sukracharya, Vasishta, he also learned everything. This mighty bowman he is skilled in everything, okay, and also all the duties. He is fit to become a king, okay, and rule the earth. So that's what she says, Ganga says. And then she says that take this son of yours and go to live with him, okay. And then Shantanu happily takes Devavrata and returns to his capital. Okay, he returns to his capital, and he was so happy looking at all the bringing his son, and he brings all the other people. Okay, he brings all the people, his relatives, his ministers, everyone, and then he declares that this son is going to be his next king. He is going to be the next king of Hastinapura. Okay, so with that, he becomes the Yuvaraja. Yuvaraja is the next king. Okay, he's the prince. Okay, declared to become next king. So he was declared like that. Like that, about 4 years passed. Okay, another 4 years passed, and one day Shantanu was going again in the woods. He was on the banks of Yamuna river. Okay, so he was on the banks of Yamuna river. There he sees, he smells something very sweet scent. Okay, he comes across a very sweet scent, and then he goes in that direction. What is this? Such a strong sweet perfume scent is coming. He goes in that direction, and then he finally comes across a beautiful girl, okay, of like Apsara, celestial beauty, okay, the daughter of a fisherman. Shantanu comes across her, and then he asks her, who are you? Whose daughter are you? What do you do here? And he asks all those questions. And then she says, I am the daughter of fisherman, and because at his command, I am rowing the passengers across this river, Yamuna, in my boat. That's what she says. She says, I'm helping the passengers go from one direction, one end to the other end in this Yamuna river. That's what I do for living, but I'm the daughter of the fisherman. And then Shantanu looks at her and then thinks she's not really a daughter of fisherman, and he desires her to be his wife. Okay, and then he goes to her father, fisherman, and then asks for his consent to marry her. Okay, but that fisherman says that this daughter, okay, I'm going to give her to a great king, but before I give her to a great king, I have my own wishes. Okay, I have my own wishes. Promise me that you will fulfill my wishes, then I will give my daughter to you. And Shantanu says, first you tell me what are your wishes. I'm not going to just promise you because you asked it, and I'm not going to simply promise you something. Tell me what you want. The fisherman says that I will give you this daughter if you promise me that her son will become the future king. Okay, if you promise me that her son will become your successor, then only I will give you my daughter. Shantanu hears this, and then he thinks, I can't give you this wish. Okay, I can't grant you this wish because he already has a son, Devavrata, who is very much skilled, okay, and he's fit to become a king. He has learned all the knowledge. He has got all the knowledge. He's strong. He's got all the knowledge of the weapons. He's very good son, okay, and he's fit to become a king as well. So there is no reason he's going to take Devavrata that right to become the future king. So he says, I can't grant you this wish. So Shantanu declines that wedding proposal. He says, I'm okay, we can't have this wedding. He feels very sad that he can't marry her. But he has no choice, so he returns to Hastinapura. When he returns to Hastinapura, he was spending day and night thinking about her. Okay, that girl he saw at the Yamuna river bank, he was thinking, he was spending all his time in a sorrowful state, in meditation. He wasn't very active at all. One day, Devavrata comes to his father and he says, you have all this wealth, all this richness, everything you need, but you still look very unhappy. What happened to you? Why are you so unhappy these days? Tell me all these things. There is like previously, you don't just ride horse every day. You used to go out on a horse riding. You looked so pale now. You look so lost. You spend a lot of time in meditation. You're just not interested in anything. What's happening? Okay. When he asks that, Shantanu says that Shantanu did not say that he saw a girl, he wanted to marry her, but he could not marry her. All these things he did not say. Shantanu says it slightly differently. Very clever boy, very clever king. Okay. He says that you are such a good boy, you are such a strong boy, but you are my only one son. And you go and have wars and fights with everyone. Whoever are wicked, you go and fight with them. But if something happens to you, I will not have any children, and this dynasty will end with me. So he says that there are sacrifices which when we do on the fire is great. Learning the Vedas is great. These are all great merits, but having a son is even greater merit. Okay. And he also says that having only one son is like having no sons. Okay. One should have more than one sons. That's what he says. And he also says that, so when he has a son, okay, these Puranas, everything says that having a son is such a great thing, but his always worry is about what happens to his only one son. That's why he's so much worried. Okay, Shantanu says that he was worried because he has only one son. He did not say that he was worried about because he was thinking about the girl in the rowing in the Yamuna river. Okay, he says, he indirectly says that he want to have more children. Okay, so that means the only way is he has to marry again. Okay, he thinks that Devavrata will understand that, and that's how he tells him. Devavrata, he is of great intelligence. He listens to that. What he does is he then goes to his minister and he asks, where was the king? Okay, last time when he went out, where was the king? What all happened? And that minister explains that he went to this Yamuna river bank. There he saw a girl, and then he went to ask fishermen, and they discussed something. And king after that came out, and then he was very sad. Okay, so this Devavrata, he thinks about that. He heads to that river bank. He goes to Yamuna river bank. He sees that same girl there, and he goes to that fisherman, and then he makes the same proposal saying that, please give your daughter to my father. Okay, so, but the fisherman says that, he says, I know you are a strong warrior. You could kill me if I say no, but I'm still going to say that I will give this daughter to that king, but on my conditions. And fisherman says that when she was born, her father told me that she will marry a king. Okay, and I had proposals for her from everybody, from rishis to all the other kings coming for her, but I never gave her because I know that king of Hastinapura is going to marry her, but before that he has to accept my condition. Okay, so fisherman says that, and then Devavrata asks, what is your condition? what is your condition? He says, the fisherman says that when there is another wife's children, the children are never happy. They will never get their share. So I want my daughter's son to become the king. Okay, that's what he says, the fisherman. He tells Devavrata. Devavrata, on hearing this, what he does is, he says, nobody has done this before. Nobody will ever do again. Okay, I will make a vow today. I will make a promise that the son born of this girl will be our next king. He makes that promise. And the fisherman was happy at that time. And he says, you are such a great person. You make such a great promise. I believe in your promise, but I still have one more little problem. Okay. And then Devavrata asks, what is that problem? He says, it's okay that my daughter Satyavati's son will become the king, but when you have your children, they might argue that they should be the kings and they might hurt my daughter's children. Okay. So he thinks about the grandchildren's fighting. Okay. So at this time, the son of Ganga, Devavrata, he makes another promise. Okay. He says that for the benefit of his father, he makes another huge promise. He says that his vow that in the presence of everybody there, all the people that assembled, he says that he will never have a children. He will remain entire life as brahmacharya. Okay, he will remain entire life as a brahmachari, unmarried person, and he will die as a brahmachari, as an unmarried person. And Devavrata says that even by dying like that, I will still attain heaven. The reason is, one attains heaven through having children. I told you this many times, right? Son will do the pinda, and then through that pinda, ancestor attains heaven, right? Devavrata says, even if I don't have children, I will still attain heaven because of this promise I'm making for my father. Okay. And when he makes that vow, fisherman was very happy. And then suddenly all the devas, deities and apsaras, gandharvas, everyone, rishis, everyone pour flowers on this Devavrata and say, your vow is a terrible vow. This is the terrible vow. They say, this is Bhishma. Okay, this one is Bhishma. And then from that point, he's been called Bhishma. And then once the fisherman agrees, Devavrata says, mother, ride on this chariot, let's go to Hastinapura. Okay, so with that, Devavrata takes Satyavati to Hastinapura. Okay, and when he goes to Hastinapura, he explains everything to Shantanu, all the promises he made. Shantanu was very disappointed. He was very sad that his son is not going to get married and he will not become king and things like that. He was very sad, but Devavrata convinces him that this is the right thing. And then Devavrata, because of that promise, Shantanu blesses him that he will have Ichcha Mrityu. Ichcha Mrityu means he will die only when he desires. Okay, he will not, death, Yama will not even touch him, come close to him if he does not wish to die. Okay, so Bhishma gets a blessing of his father that he will die only when he desires to die. Till that time, he will live. Okay, so that's the blessings of Shantanu to his son. So, yeah.
So does that mean Bhishma can choose when he dies and also how he dies?
He can choose when he dies. Yes.
But not how he dies.
Not how he dies. Again, so there is the important thing here is Ichcha Mrityu or death when one wants is not like committing suicide. Okay, Ichcha Mrityu is like one dies peacefully. Okay, no pain. Okay, whether it is body pain or whether it is the mental pain. Okay, no pain. That is what that death is about. Everyone normally when they die, they will have some sort of pain. Okay, whatever it is. Okay, they will have some sort of pain. So whether it is a body pain or mental pain, everyone will have that pain. Shantanu's wish here is till he wishes that he is ready to die, Yama will not come. So that's the blessing. Ichamritya. Okay. So that's this long story of Bhishma, Devavrata becoming Bhishma. So in short, Devavrata returns to Shantanu, and then Shantanu sees Satyavati. Satyavati's stories I told you 2-3 weeks ago. Remember, she was born as a Matsya-gandhi. She was smelling like fish, and then she comes across Parashara. They have a children called Vyasa, and then Parashara blesses her that she will have a sweet scent, right? So there are 2 children born of fish, from the fish. One was Satyavati, another one was Matsya King. Remember? So I told this story, Satyavati's birth story, about 3 weeks ago. If not, before Yayati's story, I told Satyavati's story. So go back in YouTube and listen again if you forgot. So that's the Satyavati. And Satyavati had a pre-marriage, before marriage to Shantanu, she had a son called Vyasa, Krishna Dvaipayana, Vyasa. And then now she married Shantanu. Okay. And Bhishma makes 2 promises before bringing her to Hastinapura. One is her son will become the king. And the second one is he will never marry and have children. That's today's story. About a couple of minutes left. Any questions? Anyone? Okay, if no questions, sorry, go ahead.
I said no questions.
Okay, thank you. Anyone? Are we good? Okay, let's look at how much time we have. We have just about a minute left. Let's look at one quick thing. Okay, conduct. So the one thing here I'm going to say is punishment today. Okay, on the punishments. So the Shastra says that one should not punish anybody. Okay, even in anger. Okay, and you can take only, okay, you can punish only your students or children, that too only mildly, if for their own better. Okay, to teach them, give them some instruction, then only you can hit them little bit. Okay, hit them little bit, but mildly. Okay, that's what it says. And also one should never hit somebody on their head. Okay, and also never pull somebody by their hair. If your brothers are pulling you by hair, tell them not to do it from today. Tell Adi, Tulsi. Okay. Yeah, I think almost time. We've got few more things, but we will look at next time. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you again next week. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Bye.